Tom Downey with me, Cam Rogers here. It's NFL Daily, folks, and we thank StayGuild.com and The Guild for sponsoring the show here today. All right, Tom, we wrapped up the rumor segment here. Let's continue on and project about the rest of the offseason and players who could perhaps get cut from their respective teams. We just talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers in rumors. Well, how about this for a rumor, folks? Landry Jones to be cut.
He's gone. This is such a great day. Landry Jones is done in Pittsburgh. The amount of time Pittsburgh has invested in Landry Jones is mind-boggling to me because, Cam, he's just not good. I didn't like taking him around 4. I have never liked Landry Jones. I guess that makes me a Landry Jones hater. I will accept that as the reality there. But who are you going to cut, Cam? You take a look at what Jones has done. He's been an average at best NFL backup, and reality, I think.
Look, he's so excited about being average.
That's why I put it in there.
That's a great picture.
I couldn't resist. Landry Jones is going to hate me if he ever watches this. But you're definitely not going to cut Mason Rudolph.
No.
Are you going to cut Joshua Dobbs? I
don't
don't think so. So bye-bye Landry Jones. The numbers game doesn't make sense. You're not going to carry 4 quarterbacks. So Jones, who has been the backup, has looked middling at best when he's played, I think his time is now up in Pittsburgh.
Uninspiring, to say the best. All right, so which QB should the Steelers cut? Landry Jones, Joshua Dobbs. Give us a wow face for Landry, a like for Joshua Dobbs.
There's some great clips of old NFL dailies where I am just probably crossing lines with Landry Jones in my criticism of him.
Okay, so I was gonna say, I thought like you were gonna say something like, I was really positive about him and I was raving about him in the start of his career. And
no.
You've been bad on him
never liked
from the
Landry
start.
Jones.
All right, fair enough. Hey, nothing but consistent. Tom Downey right there. All right, let's continue on here. Potential notable roster cuts. Teddy Bridgewater, a guy that the Jets recently signed here, Tom. What do you think?
The contract he signed was very deceptive. Where it was like, it was a 1-year, $10 million deal. He'll compete. Not really. And there's only $500,000 in guaranteed money for Teddy Bridgewater. So you have Josh McCown, who you absolutely want mentoring Sam Darnold.
Yep.
You have Sam Darnold, of course. So those are your top 2 guys. So you're either going to, A, make Darnold your number 3 quarterback. Don't think so. Or you're going to make Teddy Bridgewater your number 3 quarterback and pay him $6 million? No, you're just going to cut Teddy Bridgewater. Unless he can beat out Josh McCown or unless there's an injury.
It's good logic.
I don't think they're going to keep Teddy, which I hate because I've always liked Teddy Bridgewater. So we flip it here. I was not a fan of Jones. I've always loved Teddy Bridgewater.
Back to
but
positivity.
if you're the Jets, why are you going to pay $6 million to be your 3rd quarterback? That's just bad roster money management.
Yeah.
So unless you really unless you really don't want Sam Darnold to play this year, and then maybe you're willing to make Bridgewater your number 2, that's when it makes sense. Of course, that also leaves Christian Hackenberg making the roster again.
Which quarterback should the Jets cut, Teddy or Christian?
Give me a love if you want to cut both of them, which I think is probably a better idea.
Yeah, give us a heart for both.
Because Hackenberg's bad.
Yeah, he's not good at all.
I know you and I have been talking. The head coach, Topples, didn't know that he changed his throwing motion.
So there's no communication within the Jets organization in terms of...
Just roll with 2, roll with McCown, roll with Darnold, cut them both.
All right. Hit us up in the reaction poll in regards to that question. We will continue on with these names here. Rashad Perriman, wide receiver of the Baltimore Ravens, high draft pick for Baltimore and has just not panned out at all, not even close.
I had a good friend who loved Rashad Perriman coming out, and I'm like, he's fast.
And that's it.
That's it. And with Baltimore,
my buddy who went to Penn State saw Rashad Perriman play while he was in college, and he just loved watching him. And
he's fast.
The electricity that he had. But now he's in the NFL, and it's just like, he's fast.
He's fast. That's all he brings. And now you look at the Ravens' depth chart at wide receiver. Obviously, you're going to keep Crabtree, Brown, and Willie Snead. Baltimore loves Chris Moore because of his special teams ability. Jaleel Scott, they spent a 4th-round pick on, so they want to try to develop him. And they even drafted Jordan Lasley, who is...
I'm a little offended that he's on page 2, by the way.
He's going to drop every pass. So that's why, because he dropped down the first page.
That's good.
So all of a sudden, you're looking at Perryman. I think you're just going to drop him. His career, 43 catches, under 600 yards, and 3 TDs. He's been a bust in every sense of the word. Same with Max Williams, who also just missed this list. So, Cam, I think time's up for Perryman. Maybe you try and find someone to trade for him.
Maybe, but I don't think anybody will. All right, let's go to another wide receiver here out of the AFC North. Brandon LaFell, $4 million cap hit. You get $3 million in savings if you do choose to cut him. I actually think he's a decent receiver.
He is
now,
decent.
Didn't have a great year in 2017, but
no one on the Bengals team
yeah.
did. The issue is for the Bengals is that you really want John Ross, who Marvin Lewis despises, or Tyler Boyd to become the secondary options. And if those guys don't do it, then you're going to keep LaFell again, just like you did last year. Now, the Bengals are going to cut a receiver this year, and I was kind of surprised they got as many as they did last year because they've spent some notable high draft picks on these guys. A.J. Green, of course, one of the best receivers in the NFL. John Ross was a top 10 pick who had one touch and fumbled because Marvin Lewis despised him. Brandon LaFell he's a nice receiver. Let's put it that way. He's not bad by any means, but I think he's overpaid. He can do better. Tyler Boyd, a second-round pick, hasn't become the guy that the Bengals were hoping he was going to be. He's been a little bit of a bust. Cody Core is the guy I've liked. He was a 6th-round pick. Josh Malone was a 4th-round pick. They like Alex Erickson, who helps on special teams, as you mentioned earlier in the show.
Returner guy.
Auden Tate, I think, should be a tight end, but he's a big-bodied receiver. So they're going to cut somebody. If Ross and or Boyd step up, I think those are your top 3 guys. You don't want to pay LaFell $4 million to be your number 4. That's a scenario where LaFell gets cut. Now, we glossed over a lot of players because Karan White, Alex Erickson, I don't think they're going to make the roster this year. But fans outside of Cincinnati, they don't know who Alex Erickson is, and I don't blame them for that because I guess Wisconsin fans know him as well. But we were focusing on some of the more notable guys who could be cut, especially if a few certain scenarios play out, much like LaFell with Ross and Boyd stepping up for the Bengals.
All right, so there's Brandon LaFell, wide receiver for the Bengals. Let's go to the backfield here for the Patriots, and the head-scratching decision to draft Sony Michel leads us to this. Perhaps Mike Gillislee getting the short end of the stick, if you will, being cut by the Patriots because there's just too many running backs on the roster right now.
Someone's got to go.
Yeah.
And what do we know about Bill Belichick? If you fumble, he does not like you.
You're in the doghouse.
Guess who fumbled last year?
Mike Gillislee.
Yeah, so that does not bode well for Gillislee. Plus, his $2.18 million cap hit, there's no dead money. So if they cut him, they're not paying anything extra. They save all of that money on their cap. So the reality is the top 3 guys, James White, Michel, and Burkhead, they're not going anywhere. Those 3 guys are going to stay. Then it becomes a battle between 1, maybe 2 of this group. Mike Gillislee and Jeremy Hill are the main battles there. Who's going to be that short yardage goal line type back? Probably whoever fumbles the least in New England. Brandon Bolden has consistently hung around the roster because special teams matters, kids. Always play him in college and high school growing up. Ralph Webb, undrafted free agent. We threw him in there. He has got the tougher path to make it to the roster. But at least 2 of those guys are not going to make the roster. Maybe Webb sticks on the practice squad. But New England, one of the guys are getting cut, and Gillislee is definitely the most notable of that group because had a good production and good playing time earlier in the year and was steadily phased out of the offense.
All right, so Mike Gillislee on our list of potential notable roster cuts here on NFL Daily, presented by The Guild. Head on to stayguild.com. Use promo code CHATSPORTS to get 15% off your luxury stay in Austin or Dallas. All right, let's continue on here. Dwayne Allen, tight end of the Patriots, makes a lot of sense. 0 dead money. And you got Rob Gronkowski and some other solid pieces at the tight end position.
I'm actually a little bit surprised he hasn't been cut yet because you save all $5 million, but maybe you're going to actually let him compete for the number 2 tight end role. Troy Nicholas is there. You brought in Will Tyler, who's been fine with the Giants. And then Ryan Izzo, I think is really not even a tight end. He's almost a fullback tight end hybrid. If you guys know Ryan Hewitt for the Bengals, that's who he is. He is a fullback tight end hybrid. He is a blocker. Well, guess what Dwayne Allen did almost exclusively last year? He blocked. He was not a factor in the passing game almost whatsoever. 10 receptions, 86 yards, and 1 touchdown. You're going to pay $5 million for that? You can get that production from Troy Nicholas. You can get that production from Ryan Izzo at a fraction of the cost. A lot of these guys, Dwayne Allen probably talent-wise is better than any other tight ends on the roster. But at $5 million, that's where it doesn't make sense to the Patriots. That's why he's a potential roster cut.
All right, so there is Dwayne Allen on our list. Let's go back to the defensive side of the ball. Malik McDowell, defensive tackle for the Seahawks. I thought this guy was supposed to be cut by now, Tom.
Yeah, there was the report from Rappaport that he was going to be cut probably after the draft, and now we sit here on May 21st, and he hasn't been cut yet.
It's been a month.
I suspect there might be some behind-the-scenes stuff going on because Malik McDowell had that really, really bad ATV accident that involved head and eye injuries. The reality is he's probably never going to play again in the NFL, and that sucks when you spend your first overall pick on that player, a second-round pick for Seattle there. Has not been cleared. Maybe another team does. I think what Seattle might be trying to do, and that's why there's some delay here, is that you're trying to get out of the guarantee money. Because if you cut him right now, based on the contract, you're actually adding more money to your cap hit. But if you can prove, hey, he did stuff that he was supposed to do, dangerous activities that are not allowed in his contract, that's where you can recoup that guaranteed money and get out of it.
All right, so that's the rundown there with the Seahawks and Malik McDowell. How about we take a look at the Chiefs here, and friend of the Cam Rogers show, Charcandrick West. Tom, say it isn't so, my man.
I feel bad doing this, Cam, but someone's getting cut from the Chiefs, and I kind of think it's going to be Charcandrick West. As good as he was, he showed the flashes in 2015, and then this year he was just kind of a non-factor. Like, Kareem Hunt quickly became the #1 back after Spencer Ware's injury, and Spencer Ware's going to come back hopefully healthy this year.
I do like Damian Williams, too.
And West does bring you some pass-catching value, but so does Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
And, Spencer Ware can do that, too. So I think because of the money involved, both the Williams guys are cheaper. Money does play a role there. If you can save a little bit more by cutting Charcandrick, a.k.a. Charmander, I think that makes sense there. So the Chiefs are going to cut at least one of those guys, if not two of them. And because West, in reality, was very much phased out of the offense last year, I just don't think he's going to make the roster, which is unfortunate because I thought he could be a decent player for you. But 'tis life as an NFL halfback.
Sure.
You have a very, very short time frame there.
And he will certainly get a good role somewhere else if he does indeed get cut. So that's the rundown there with Charcandrick West. Let us know who the Chiefs should cut at running back, by the way. Could it be Kerwin Williams? Could it be Damian Williams? One of the Williamses?
I could see two of these guys getting cut, and the Chiefs just going with three because you trust Kareem Hunt. Assuming Spencer Ware is healthy, a big question mark there. You trust him. You only need one of those guys. Now, West does bring you some pass-catching value. I've seen a little bit out of Damian Williams in the past. For whatever reason, the Chiefs just like those third down, or those LSU backs. Kerwin and Spencer Ware were both there. If I had to pick just the one, I think it's probably going to be Kerwin, but I think there's going to be two, and that's why West makes this. Because I think the casual fan has sort of Charcandrick West more than, say, Kerwin Williams.
All right, let's go to the next name on the list of potential notable roster cuts. Wendell Smallwood, running back for the Philadelphia Eagles here. So for Philadelphia, Jay Ajayi is the guy, and then you got Darren Sproles there, who's with the Eagles as well. Maybe Smallwood is that odd man out.
Someone's getting cut, and it's probably going to be one of their recent draft picks. And Smallwood, again, once Jay Ajayi came in, it was kind of like, okay, bye, Wendell. That's not in. You're no longer our featured back anymore. So tough break there. Again, you're not going to have much dead money there. You're going to save quite a bit of it. Corey Clement kind of surpassed Smallwood. You have Jay Ajayi. You're bringing back Darren Sproles. So in reality, Cam, I think Ajayi, Corey Clement, and Darren Sproles are your top three running backs. I think those guys are safe, provided, of course, that Darren Sproles is actually healthy coming back in his older age from injury. And that brings you this next group here. I think the max the Eagles are going to keep at running back is 4 guys. So take your pick of one, maybe, probably not 2 of these guys. It's not going to be Matt Jones. I like Josh Adams. Maybe he's the next Corey Clement. I don't think he's going to make the roster in year 1. Donnell Pumphrey and Smallwood kind of becomes the battle there. And I think if you're the Eagles looking ahead, Darren Sproles has 1 year left. He can't keep playing forever. So you would prefer to keep Pumphrey, have him groomed to be your third down back, even though he was bad in the preseason last year before he got hurt. So Smallwood can still make the roster, but there had been some hype around him. And once Jay Ajayi came on, he kind of got phased out. And now you're kind of stuck with, oh boy, what do we do with Wendell Smallwood? Someone's going to be the odd man out. I think it's going to be Smallwood here, but it is very much going to be a must-watch training camp battle.
All right, so let's take a look at the offensive line now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and more specifically, J.R. Sweezy, guard, who absolutely stunk up the joint last year. Tom was not very good on the offensive line, and for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he's got a $7.1 million cap hit, roughly. That's kind of high for a guy that struggled last year.
He's going to be their 4th guard. I really do think that. Remember, with the Bucs,
so bad.
The Bucs went out. They signed Ryan Jensen, so Marpet's going to go back to guard. Evan Smith can play guard as well. Alex Kappa, I like as a 3rd-round pick. So now all of a sudden, you're going to pay J.R. Sweezy $7 million to be your number 4 guard?
No thanks.
Nah, that doesn't make sense. Now Smith can play some center as well if they want to keep him as a backup. So maybe you end up having Sweezy compete with Alex Cappa for the starting job, but he hasn't even been cleared yet medically. So I think that's a big issue here as well. Cam, let's just make a quick note for everyone watching, all you NFL teams out there. Don't sign Seattle offensive linemen.
Yeah, it's a bad move.
Why did we think this was going to work? He wasn't good in Seattle. Now you got him stuck with a $7.125 million cap hit. You can save $6.5. I think they're waiting for him to be cleared medically or for him to get the old failed physical designation. With Kappa, Smith, and Marpet there, I think in reality all better players than Sweezy at cheaper costs. You say goodbye to Sweezy, you free up money, and you eventually give it to Marpet, who I think is a very talented guard up front, who played a position this year as a center.
Sweezy graded out as a 53rd ranked guard last year, 43.9 grade according to Pro Football Focus. Is that good? No, it's not.
He's also battled injuries as well. That's why he has one injury photo there. So he gone.
All right, let's continue on here. Rob Kelly, running back for the Washington Redskins, and I don't want to say it's going to happen, but it could happen just because if you look at the depth chart here, doesn't make a lot of sense to keep him because I do know they like Samaje P. Ryan.
Sorry,
a lot.
Fat Rob.
But Fat Rob's an effective running back. Like, he'll find a role out there if he is cut.
But will he, though?
I think so. You're not a Fat Rob guy?
I'm not a Fat Rob guy.
Oh.
I like what he did. I like, being an undrafted free agent, making an impact there. But I know it was the Redskins' offensive line last year. He averaged 3.1 yards a carry. That's really bad.
Stats don't lie. That's
and
for sure.
He offers nothing in the passing game. So Darius Geist now, by default, becomes your number 1 running back. Mm-hmm. Chris Thompson, if healthy, ends up becoming your 3rd down back in the role that he played in the past. Samaje P. Ryan, again, I think they're a little bit more invested in him, and he at least was better last year than Rob Kelly, not including the fumbles there. He also had better production in the passing game. So if Chris Thompson isn't healthy, you're looking at keeping a guy like a Bibbs or even a Keith Marshall if he's ever healthy again. And I think P. Ryan, in reality, became the preferred back to Rob Kelly. So if you're going to cut one of those guys, Rob Kelly becomes the odd man out. No, by the way, you see it up there on your screen. $1K in dead money. That's nothing. That is almost as cheap as you find without it being no dead money. So
basically no dead money.
So Rob Kelly, I think as long as P. Ryan and Geist and Thompson are all healthy, I think that's somewhere where they say, you know what, Rob, we're sorry, good luck, go find somebody else. Go find someone to play. And he could be a number 3 back somewhere.
Number 3? Such disrespect.
Well, he's not going to be a 3rd down back. And that's the issue. And that's also why this type of running back has a very short time frame to be successful in the NFL. Because if you're not a starting caliber back and you don't bring anything in the passing game, are you good enough on special teams to help out?
I get the logic. I understand.
And that's where things are an issue for me, at least.
And I think he's a little better than the 3.1 yards per carry that you brought out. But
fair.
You're right. The stats don't lie. All right, that's a look at the Washington Redskins. You guys are watching NFL Daily presented by The Guild. Head on to stayguild.com. Use promo code CHATSPORTS for 15% off your luxury stay here in Austin and Dallas. Really fantastic company here, Tom. I know you like them a lot. You've used them many times.
Yes. I like them there, and it's, kind of like a luxury Airbnb. Mm-hmm. Actually have comfortable beds. That's a big factor for me there.
Yep. No guessing at all.
It's so much nicer because you're kind of playing roulette with Airbnb. You're not playing that with the Guild. You know you're getting a great spot.
All right, stayguild.com is the way to go. Got a little luxury Airbnb action as well as a virtual concierge. So they got it all going on there. All right, let's continue on here with the notable players who could get cut here. And we're going to take a look at Donald Penn. And there could be a lot to break down here, Tom.
So just bear with me here, okay, Raiders fans? I know I have insulted your draft classes and you don't like me right now. But
and by the way, we were the school guards in high school.
I did love that one.
And we got our lunch money took,
See, if you're going to insult us, be creative. We will actually appreciate that.
That comment made me laugh.
So this is an example of certain scenarios have to go down for this to happen for Donald Penn. Now, he seems to be in the clear after the whole domestic violence accusation. There are no charges there, so he seems to be safe from that. But the reality is for Donald Penn, he's a 35-year-old offensive lineman coming off Lisfranc surgery. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a big deal.
Yep.
There is a strong chance that Penn is never the same guy he was. And by the way, past couple years, he's been one of the most underrated linemen in the NFL. But we start with what they have locked in for their roster. Colton Miller, David Sharp, Brandon Parker, those guys aren't going in. So you already have 3 linemen on the roster. Now, Park is very much a work in progress. Sharp might play right tackle. Colton Miller, I think, needs some development, but they've started him at left tackle early on. So if you're keeping those three guys, you're cutting some notable players from this list. Vidal Alexander, Bruno Giacomoni, who is terrible, has to be cut.
Not good.
And John Ware is also a backup guy. But if Penn is slow to recover from his injury and he's out of, OTAs and even some preseason time, and if Colton Miller thrives at left tackle and David Sharp proves he can be the right tackle, are you going to pay $8+ million for a swing tackle in Donald Penn? If Colton Miller does emerge as the left tackle, and if Penn is slow to come back from injury. Now, those are a lot of ifs, and that's why it's not the most likely cut that we're discussing today. But at 35 years old, coming off the foot injury, as good as Penn has been, I think it's a fair question to entertain. Like, maybe if he's not the same guy, and if Miller thrives, he's better than I think he's going to be in year one, that's where it makes some sense. But it is a big if.
All right, should the Raiders move on from Donald Penn? Let us know in the comment section here.
It is coming, though.
Yeah.
It's going to come at some point because Donald Penn is 35 years old. If you make him a starter for one more year, he's going to be 36 next year with a $10 million cap hit, all of which can be saved. So at that point, he's just gone. There's no way he's going to stay.
We'll stick with the Raiders theme here, Tom. DeAndre Washington could get cut. I mean, it's either Jalen or DeAndre, right? At least that's what I'm thinking. It's got to be one of those two.
Maybe it's Doug Martin, too, potentially. But
sure.
I think it's going to be DeAndre Washington because he was pretty good his first year with the Raiders. But then this year, Cam, he was bad. I mean, we made fun of Rob Kelly's amount of yards per carry. He had 2.7 yards per carry.
Yeah. So for DeAndre Washington here, who is he going to compete with in this depth chart to perhaps...
There are a lot of big question marks here with the Raiders at the running back spot. Now, I've heard from some Raiders fans who are really buying into Chris Warren. He's not going to be a thing in the NFL. Like, the Texas Longhorns moved the tight end H-back because he wasn't a good enough running back. Now, maybe that'll change in the NFL, but don't bank on Warren being a long-term option for the Oakland Raiders. The big question mark number one is, does Doug Martin have anything left in the tank? Because Doug Martin could have easily made this list, but I think the Raiders might prefer just the one kind of third down back, be it Rashard or Washington. Both were not as good. Rashard is not going to be as involved on returns because the Raiders brought in Ryan Switzer, they brought in Dwayne Harris. And Washington was just so bad last year. If he's the same guy we saw playing for the Raiders getting under 3 yards to carry, they're not going to keep him. Now, he was a higher pick than Rashard, but if Washington is as bad as he was, there's no way the Raiders keep him because there's just no point. And they do play very similar roles. Some of that third down back who can also be thick enough and strong enough to get some actual carries as well. But I think they're going to fit in that third down back mold. If that's the case, why carry both of them right now? Because you brought in Doug Martin, assuming he makes the roster.
And I don't think he gets cut. I think Doug Martin stays on that team.
I agree.
And John Gruden, very ambitious guy, and he'll make some head-scratcher moves, but he'll do them with a reason. And I think he got Doug Martin with a reason, not to just go ahead and cut him. So DeAndre Washington could be on the chopping block there for the Oakland Raiders.
Just one more quick burn for Raiders fans. John Gruden with the ultimate 2013 Madden team.
I love that comparison. Where'd you get that, by the way?
It's very common on the internet, but it's also very obvious.
All right, there you go. Let's continue on here. Talk about the Dallas Cowboys a little bit. Tyron Crawford, could he be gone?
So I'll make a quick note of this before we dive in too far here to Crawford, that, again, we're focusing on more notable players. Like, there are going to be some defensemen the Cowboys cut. Like Charles Tapper, probably going to be cut. I don't think people outside of Oklahoma and the Cowboys know who Charles Tapper is. I saw one comment from Rodney Roof saying, cut Chaz Green. Again, doesn't really fit the notable side of things unless you're a Falcons or Cowboys fan. Because
Exactly.
Chaz Green was
or
awful,
Adrian Claiborne.
probably going to get cut as well. But Tyrone Crawford is the interesting one here because it falls into the same Donald Penn category. You need a lot of if, and then this happens type deal. So the first step for Crawford is that, A, he just isn't good, which I don't think is going to happen. He's an okay defensive player. I think he's a 3-technique player in that position. Crawford is the best guy on that list there. But if Taco Charlton emerges, and if Randy Gregory returns from suspension, and if those guys look really, really good, do you want to pay Tyrone Crawford the amount of money he's making to be your number 4 defenseman? Now, he's a great leader. It's why I don't think he's going to be cut. But if Crawford and if Charlton and Gregory emerge, and maybe a Charles Tapper or Dorrance Armstrong emerge, then maybe you go, man, we can save $6 million if we cut him. Maybe that's when you consider. Now, I don't think it's going to happen. I think they'll keep him. But I do think if the Cowboys' young defensive ends really emerge, that's where you could see Crawford get the cut despite his great leadership. But again, I think of all the guys we discussed here, this is the biggest reach.
I'll tell you what, Tom. I saw a lot of ability on that depth chart that you just flashed up there. Behind Crawford,
A
Cody
lot
Ely,
of competition there.
Taco Charlton. These guys can certainly make some noise throughout OTAs and training camp.
I mean, I think in reality, the best case scenario for the Cowboys is that you actually consider cutting Crawford because that means Crawford or Charlton, Gregory, Ely, Tapper,
It's opportunity.
Gregory, somebody, all those guys emerged. So I don't think he'll be cut. I think if you're looking for the one guy the Cowboys should cut, I think we'll get comments about Chaz Green. I would imagine there. But I don't think Crawford is the guy you want to cut the most. And by the way, quick mention as well, Terrence Williams, guys, is not getting cut. Unless he gets suspended for his recent arrest, which I don't think is going to happen, I'd be very surprised if that went down. In reality, it doesn't make money. It doesn't make monetary sense to keep or to cut Williams because if you cut him, you save $0.
So what's the point?
You just keep him because it's worthwhile.
Ready? Symbolic cut, Tom. And we're bringing back the
Stop
symbolic
it.
narrative, right? With
Stop
Des
it.
Bryant.
Stop it.
Was I right or was I right?
You're right. And well, you were right, but you were wrong.
Oh, of course. I can just never win with you. All right, Tyrone Crawford, potential name to be cut there from the Dallas Cowboys, and we'll see what happens on that defensive line. Let's continue on here, talk about Leonte Carroo, wide receiver of the Miami Dolphins. What do you make of this?
I hated the pick at the time. I will sing my own praises when I'm right, and I will say, hey, I was wrong when I am wrong. I didn't think the Jakeem Grant pick was great, but that's actually turned out pretty well for the Dolphins, I think, overall. But Carroo was a weird pick to me because they traded up to get him, and he's really not been any factor for Miami. I mean, he has slid down the depth chart, and you thought, oh, they got rid of Jarvis Landry. They're going to be okay now. But then they went out and they added Danny Amendola and Albert Wilson. Both guys can play the slot. I think in reality, these are your top 5 receivers right now for the Dolphins. Now, you're hoping that Devontae Parker actually emerges. I like that pick. Haven't been too great so far.
Yep.
Danny Amendola is going to play the slot. Stills is your deep threat. Wilson can play outside or inside. Jakeem Grant is good on returns and is another slot option.
Carroo isn't even there on the first page.
Carroo's on the next page here, and Rashawn Scott got some work. I am a big fan of Isaiah Ford, even though NFL teams disagree with me. You got guys like Drew Morgan, Francois as other potential depth options, but are you going to carry 6 receivers if you're the Dolphins? If you don't, Carroo is not making the roster. Even if you do, he has to beat out Scott, and he hasn't done much of anything in the NFL, and there's not much dead money. You're going to save almost all but $200,000 or so. Mm-hmm. I think it's a strong consideration now for the Dolphins. Now, I think they will try to trade him first, but Carroo has 10 career catches for a player the Dolphins give a future second-round pick for. He's been a bust in the NFL.
So the return on the investment is bad.
It's been very bad, and you cannot follow the sunken cost fallacy. If you're the Dolphins and you're sitting there and you think that Stills and Parker and Amendola and Wilson or Grant are all more valuable players, I think you just cut Carroo at that point. And that's the concern for me with the Dolphins is that you spent all this capital for a player that has not produced anything. And Adam Gase has said some nice things in practices. At practices, like, hey, you can see he's improving out there. But look, man, we're in year 3 for Carroo, and he hasn't done it yet. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't do it in the preseason, I think I was going to say, you know what, we're done. We're just going to cut ties, try and trade him, or just cut him outright.
All right, so Leonte Carroo there, not a big sample size of success in 2017, 7 receptions, 69 yards. We're going to leave it up to you guys. You're all NFL fans out there. What player should your team cut? Let us know on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. Tom, I want you to take the Cowboys. Give me the Cowboys guy.
Oh, it's Chaz Green.
Chaz.
I got you guys covered. Don't worry.
All right, I'm going Brashad Perriman for my Baltimore
go.
Ravens because just move on. He's not panning out at all. Please, God, help us.
I'm sure producer Harris says Dwayne Allen there.
Yep.
I feel pretty confident about that one.
Representing the Patriots there.
So I'm sure there are other players we missed, probably some of the less notable players out there. But again, this was all about players that most of you guys probably would have heard of because Chaz Green, obviously Cowboys fans know him, Falcons fans know him. But I don't really know if the casual NFL fan has heard of Chaz Green.
Right.
Beyond, oh, that's the guy that got killed by Adrian Claiborne, right?